It's so delightful to be here this evening. Thank you so much, Khaki Lab, for having me. Thank you so much, Suki, for such a warm and wonderful welcome. Without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into the subject. I'm going to start with presenting my screen, and then we can take it from there. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and taking out a very essential chunk of your Saturday evening to listen to me talk. So a little bit about Histories of Bombay and then a little bit about myself. Histories of Bombay, as the name suggests, is a way of archiving the city stories because all of us have our own stories to tell. And sometimes history can be a very intimidating subject for most. Which is why an endeavor of mine is to make it reachable, to make it approachable as a subject, of course, with all your facts in place, but also make it a really enjoyable experience to learn of a city's history. And having done this work for about more than a decade now, so one of my deepest and greatest joys is interacting with people like you guys and interacting with people in heritage spaces, people that the very ordinary people like you and I who go and interact with these spaces, and some of them where we inhabit them, the people who have been working in these spaces in any capacity. It's always really interesting hearing their stories, listening to their perspectives and kind of documenting this archive of Bombay through oral history. So that is something which I really feel very passionately about, because I feel like, of course, you have your heritage and history in textbooks, but oral history is something which is scarcely recorded. And I'm happy to see a lot of young authors now have, taken it in their stride and taken it up as a profession to document stories of the people, and that's where my interest lies as well. So I'm not sure if how many of you know about. I have an ongoing exhibition called the Histories of Bombay, and that is what the subject of my presentation is today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the exhibition and then a little bit about the journey, and take you guys on a journey through Bombay virtually with me and the exhibition. Sorry. Okay, so this is a little bit about Histories of Bombay, the exhibition that is currently happening. It is happening in a heritage building called Kitab Mahal. I'm sure a lot of us know the space already. So Kitab Mahal is a building which dates back to 1890, and it has a very interesting and curious history of its own to tell. The most curious being that it used to be the CBI headquarters for a really long duration. Which makes it a very interesting place to visit as is. And there's also a vault which has been kind of uncovered in the space, which once you really visit that building, you'll be able to kind of have access to. So my exhibition is at the space called KMC, which is the Kitab Mahal Cafe. Often confused with Kitab Khana, but that's not where it is. So Kitab Mahal is, for a lot of you who know this Ministry of New, it is in the same building as Ministry of New, but on the first floor. So this is a new space which is opened up, and what really drew me to the space is that it is a really interesting modern take in a heritage building. So they have restored and they have maintained, the walls, the windows, the high ceilings. There are original mezzanine floors which haven't been broken down just to, increase the space. You can actually see the pillars and all of that. So I'm building your curiosity and hoping that you'd actually go visit rather than showing you guys images, because I'm keeping our subject limited to Bombay. So coming back a little bit to Bombay, as Suki rightly introduced, I feel like Bombay is a city of stories, of histories, and most importantly, of cities within a city. I think that is something that is food for thought and something that we all can think about. there's some wisdom there if you think about it, because we are so many different communities coexisting. There's so much of diversity. Perhaps one of the richest and the most diverse, when I say richest, is culturally the richest. And I think we have some of the strongest coexistence of different cultures and everything about the city of dreams that is so interesting. Um, we'll start with one of my favorite subjects, which is the cinema halls of Bombay. So we all know that Bombay is the birthplace of cinemas. And I'm sure each one of us has our own stories and own associations growing up going to single screen cinema halls, which unfortunately are all shuttering. We're all very guilty of actually going to all these multiplexes ourselves, because of course that's the most convenient choice and that's the most modern choice. But being a poet, I'm always romancing the past and romancing things which have nostalgia associated with them. So I really love going back. I'm a Bandra girl, so I used to go to the Gaiety Galaxy a lot, and I still do for the occasional movie. And I absolutely love like the space theme cinemas that they have. And I think they have, even though that's not a single screen cinema, but it's still it gives you that entire old cinematic experience. So today I'm going to talk about, going to show you guys a few of the single screen cinema houses that I really enjoy showcasing. And also this is of course a part of my exhibit. So in the exhibit that I'm going to be showing you, even when you visit KMC, I have curated the different walls under these categories. So the first category we're looking at are cinemas. So the first one that we're talking about that you can see on your screens, that is Alfred Talkies. So I'm sure a few of us are familiar with it, but fairly unfamiliar also, if I may say so, because Alfred is kind of almost a hidden gem in the city that I really love. It has a very beautiful rust pink facade. I'm not sure how many have seen it, but if you haven't, I'd urge you to just walk down the street. This is near Grant Road Station in this neighborhood called Kalpa Devi, and it is very iconic to cinema houses. So there was actually a cinema street. It actually was called a cinema street, and you'll see New Roshan Talkies, Alfred Talkies, Imperial Cinema, and a host of some of these. Unfortunately, a lot of them have shuttered, and some of them are on the verge of shuttering. So speaking about Alfred, I will read out a small excerpt about it. Alfred Talkies, in the wild heart of Bombay, amidst the city's oldest entertainment district, playhouse with a cluster of crumbling single-screen cinemas, lies Alfred Talkies. First glance takes you to the Romanesque dusky pink facade adorned with vibrant hand-painted posters announcing the movie of the day rather theatrically. European-style pillars, arched windows, and peeling paint welcome you into a curious era of Indian cinema. Once an opera theatre known as the Ripon, Alfred transformed at its peak into a talkies in the golden era and now stands dated screening B-grade Bollywood movies. It remains the only single screen in Bombay that runs on film reels, as the 140-year-old projector reels tirelessly, giving its viewers the real cinematic experience. Arc lamps, frayed velvet curtains, a stucco arch, and two-tier seatings holding a grand balcony and the stalls. So that hopefully has evoked an imagery of what Alfred looks like from the inside. It is really interesting to me that this is a cinema hall that runs on film reels still. So having actually had the opportunity to meet with the projectionist, he told me some very interesting stories about how he refuses to move on to digital, and they are very passionate about their reels. So they'd rather screen really old films which have the film reels, as opposed to keeping up with today's technology. So I find that really curious. Another really interesting fact about Alfred is there's a gentleman called Rahman who paints these old Bollywood posters. So you'll only see this in a handful of cinemas that still have that. And so I'm sure a lot of us know that M.F. Hussain started his journey as an artist painting, posters of Bollywood movies. So it was really interesting to actually interact with Mr. Rahman. And again, he was really passionate about his art of painting these posters. And so you'll see that Alfred, if I go back to the image, you'll see that this is one of the few that still has that poster of Badal or whichever movie they're playing next on it. So this is to show you a few of the others that I have featured in my exhibition as well. So you have Liberty at Marine Lines. For those of you who don't know how Liberty got its name, a little bit of trivia. So it was the first cinema house that opened after the Indian independence movement, which is why you have the name Liberty. And the one that you see in the middle, that is the Imperial Cinema, again at Grant Road. It dates back to 1905, so you can only imagine how it must be from inside. Also, what really appeals to me is this Indo-Saracenic facade, which unfortunately is no longer the entrance facade. For some reason, it's now the back entrance or the back door, and it's gated shut. But very interesting to see this kind of architecture being used, which is usually used in temples with, mythological characters and elephants. And yeah, and on the right hand side, we see Edward Theatre, which I'm sure a lot of us are more familiar with. So Edward is a scaled down version of a opera house style theatre, and this you will find in Dhobi Talao, next to Metro. And again, this is 3 tiers of seating, very interesting in its structure, and it really does feel like a very forgotten cinema hall. Just for the experience, it's worth going to visit. Now I would love Sukhi to kind of open this up to 2 people from the audience, and if they would like to share about their theater memories or any particular theaters that they would like to talk about, or any cinema halls they'd like to talk about.
So if anybody can raise their hand and maybe share a little bit of memory, like Anushka said, of a theater in Mumbai. I think the first 2 people who volunteer can...
Hi, it's Jay from London.
Hello.
Apologies. Hi, how are you? Okay, thank you for your wonderful webinars, and I'm a big fan. I've been watching Khaki Labs since lockdown, and it's been keeping me entertained every weekend. So my memory, I live in London, but when I visited Mumbai, the film Hum Aapke Hain Kaun came out.
Wow.
And I was very young. I was probably my sort of 10, 11 years old, and I was just completely wowed by the audience and the fact that the national anthem comes on, and I just found that so special. So that was my memory, my first memory of going to cinema in Bombay, and what a movie, in an iconic film, great music, great colors, fantastic cinematography, and yeah, that was my memory. So yeah, even though I'm slightly shy as well, but yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Jay. I think that's so true. Like, these movies, and especially I think the movie watching experience is what stays with you more than the movie sometimes, because even movies like Lagan, I think you'd remember the audience cheering. And like you said, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, you remember the audience cheering, whistling. I think that and the national anthem, the goosebumps that you get whenever the entire theater is roaring together. So that's really special, and that really stays with you. Thanks, Jay.
Hi, I'm Kruti here. So is this only about fort theatres? Because I wanted to say something about Chitra, which since I live in central Mumbai at Dadar.
Please do.
And so I have really fond memories, and I love all of the old theaters with a single screen, like even Liberty Metro. Likewise, Chitra is the theater which we used to frequent. What I like about it, it has a huge parking space in front, unlike what we have in the malls and in the current theaters. Started in 1932 by and owned by, I think, Mr. Dara Feroz Mehta. I am very sad that now that one is also shutting down. That's what I wanted to say.
Great. Yes, absolutely. I've been to Chitra too, couple of times at least. And I think these are very iconic. Like you said, they just stay with you, these memories. So thank you guys so much. Any one more person would like to share? I know cinemas is a subject which is very close to everyone's heart. So we'll take
I
one.
think Revati still has a hand up. Would you like to share? Maybe you can unmute yourself and speak.
So I lived and grew up in Bombay, especially the Fort and Churchgate area.
Lovely.
The Metro, the Regal, and Eros. They were the theaters which showed the English movies, you know, and therefore much favored by us. And I think Metro was the first to introduce selling popcorn and other delectable, you know, snacks at that time. They were the first.
Wow.
You couldn't get it in other theaters. So my memories as growing up in Bombay are around these three theaters where we saw some of the best of films.
That's absolutely true. I mean, those are so iconic. Thank you, Revati. And especially like you mentioned, so even a small childhood memory that I would like to add to that is at Sterling used to play English movies, and I'm from Bandra. So I remember like my mother taking me and my brother and and we used to go all the way. For us, that was like a whole like road trip to the other side of town, which Revati, you were fortunate to always live in. And I remember these certain Hollywood movies, which, you know, as children, you really want to go to them and watch them on the big screen because there was no other way then. And it was such a great experience. And like you said, the popcorn, I think every movie theater has its own popcorn, and everyone has their own associations with it. So
and their own favorites. Of course, Adil has also mentioned at this time that Eros has lovely Art Deco designs inside the hall on both sides and has lovely artwork.
Absolutely, and unfortunately shuttered, but we miss it and hold it dear in memory.
Great. So I'm going to request everyone who's spoken to mute themselves again, and over to you again, Anushka.
Sure. And before we move on, I'd like to share a little bit of trivia about the word theater. So as we kind of noticed, everyone who spoke also said theaters, and we have this habit in Bombay to say, let's go to the theater for a movie. And interestingly, I was having a conversation with a few of my friends from different parts of the country and different countries even. And turns out that it's a very Bombay thing to say that let's go to the theater for a movie. And the reason being is because, of course, when the British came in, they built theaters for performing arts. Of course, a lot of us know this already, but it's just interesting to think about that these theaters were built for performing arts, but of course, Bombay being the birthplace of Bollywood, enter films, and everyone forgets the performing arts, unfortunately, and all the masses take more to the films. So all the theaters, including the Opera House, were forced to bring down screens, and so that they could cater to the masses as well. And which is why in Bombay you say, let's go for a movie to the theater. Okay. On that note, I will take us to our next subject. Okay, so we're talking about libraries next. So this is, I'm sure we have a lot of readers amongst us. And being a writer and being a historian myself, I spend a lot of my time doing research in libraries. I spend a lot of time reading in libraries. I feel like libraries really are, in today's day of overwhelming technology, they are a space which you can actually reflect, and they give you that respite where you can be immersed in a book and you're not distracted by, you know, screens. And I love how they give you a sanctuary. They're almost like a home within a home. It is, they're one of my favorite places to explore, even anywhere that I travel, locally, internationally. I think libraries always feel like home to me, especially because I am a writer and I really associate with them. I'd like to read out a small prose piece that I've written. And I had written this, interestingly, in one of my favorite libraries in Bombay, which is the Bombay University Library. I'm sure a lot of us have been there already, and if not, here's your incentive to go. In my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful libraries in the city, and the one I'm talking about is the one under the Rajabai Clock Tower in the Bombay University campus. So this is what it looks like, and it is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, there's Gothic Venetian architecture, sunlight streaming in. It's just the most beautiful space to just immerse yourself in books. There's no technology, like you can see. It's really lovely. So I'm just gonna read a little bit about this. Bombay University Library. Evenings at the Bombay University Library. Libraries are the heart of every writer. The smell of books and warm wood, the dust and desired stillness, the soft light, the air heavy with richness, of literature and history, deep with secrets, and the warm embrace of endless books everywhere one looks, being surrounded with stories, voices from the past and present, speaking to you from volumes of beautiful books, some dusty and worn over time, others fresh and crisp with promise. It is beautiful how a library is so much about sharing a silent space with fellow readers, sharing books that are passed on from one to another, books that have been held by hands that have kept them warm, books that have lived in houses of strangers, holding traces of their readers. Sometimes in a penciled line, a hidden inscription, footnotes, a tea stain, a teardrop blotting the text, a folded page, a forgotten bookmark, or a lingering scent. It is a map of memory, a map of time. Everywhere I go, I look for a library, a place of belonging. Perhaps the heart is drawn to these museums of words, looking to find a part of myself in the poetry, in the history, the stories. I find the deepest solace in my secret corner in the city, in this beautiful library, full of light, reading for hours, immersing myself in the warmth of wood, the softness of sunlight, looking out from gloriously Gothic windows. As I walk the halls of the Victorian reading rooms, I look at all the books that have lived for hundreds of years, long after their writers have passed. And I'm filled with a sense of belonging, a sense of yearning to leave behind my own words, stories, books in the world, perhaps finding home on a dusty shelf of an old library someday, somewhere, touching the lives of everyone who reads them. Perhaps this is the magic of a library. It makes you belong, it makes you want to belong, it makes you stay, and it stays with you. Okay, that was just a little bit of evocative poetry, and hoping that that took you to the library that I'm referring to. These are a couple of more, which are my favorites in the city. So on the left, you see the Asiatic Library, Asiatic Society of Mumbai. I really struggle with this name Mumbai because I've always called it Bombay. So I'm sure a lot of us original Bombay folk agree. So as we all know, the Asiatic Society is one of the oldest, it has some of the oldest archives in the city. So it was used to be called the town hall, and it used to be the town hall, and it was established in 1804. So one of the earliest buildings in the city. And on the right, we see the David Sassoon Library and Reading Room. Also another really, really beautiful library. I'm sure everyone has seen it from the road, but for those who haven't had a chance to go in, I'd encourage you to try and, of course, it's a members only library, but I'm sure you can find your way. This is Bombay. So, yes, as you can see in the image, you have what really speaks to me are the arches and the beautiful tile work, and of course the library walls and the books. And there are these chairs that you see, which are a very iconic image of Bombay, where you'll see people reading the newspaper at all times of the day on these chairs, which are actually called Bombay fornicators. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about Bombay's libraries. So I'd love for, now this takes me back to you guys, and I'd love for anyone from the audience to tell me about their favorite libraries. It needn't be about only Bombay, it can be wherever you live or even Bombay. Sukhi, would you like to tell us about your favorite library in the city or anywhere else?
Okay, multiple libraries, but I actually just read a book about the Library of Words, and I think that was a very moving book for me. But some of the libraries that I have really spent my time in are my college libraries.
Oh, wow.
I think that that when you're on a residential campus and you have libraries that are unending, it just adds, it just gives you a place to, it's like a room away from your room where you can spread your books out and do your research. Yeah. Though I find that the Asiatic Library is a beautiful, beautiful place to sit down at, like your very evocative piece mentioned. It's really a very beautiful place to sit down and feel that you're connected across generations to people who might have handled those books.
So true, right? That's exactly the feeling that resonates with me, like what may have happened in these halls, within these walls. And like you said, the school libraries and the college libraries are those which really stay with you in memory, because you've grown up, going to them almost on autopilot in some way, because you need them. And then always the ones that you see later are more out of leisure. So absolutely, they imprint your minds. And the Asiatic Library, since you brought that up, it is really beautifully restored. So I'd urge everyone to go and use their reading room. It's really nicely done now, and really beautiful. Anyone else who would like to share about their library experience before we move on to the next?
Adil has beautifully listed a whole lot of libraries in the city. He says People's Free Reading Room and Library, Petit Library, Sassoon Library, French Library next to Rhythm House, CSMVS Library, Kama Oriental Institute Library, British Council, Maharashtra State Archives, Asiatic Society, and of course, Khaki's Library as well.
Lovely. Okay, if you don't have...
Jay, would you like to speak? Because Jay has written something about the reading room at the...
hand is up, but she's not seen it.
Yeah, apologies. I was just saying that the British Library in London and the reading room at the British Museum are wonderful. Now closed to the public, but they open periodically when they have some old archives, such as they have an old Bhagavad Gita which is like 550 years old. They had an old copy of the Quran, which is over 1,000 years old. So, sometimes if you are ever in London, please do make the effort to visit those two places, if not done so already. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jay. I've actually lived in London for a couple of years myself, and I couldn't agree more. Those are amazing libraries.
I think Shiv Prasad Oza also has raised his hands. Would you like to share?
Hello.
Yes.
I remember my college days at Nagpur in Vishweshwaraya Regional College of Engineering. There was a very nice library building, and it's in the center of the campus, and it's designed by Gregson Batley King from Bombay.
Okay.
So and that's very nice library with a full of well light, and further in the library, the system is such that you can take any book, read, and there are 2-3 types of reading facilities are there. We can read in the hall, we can read in the some sort of chamber nicely, and I still remember that library.
How lovely. That sounds so great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So Adil says that the British Library has, in collaboration with CSMB, started a photo exhibition at
just opposite the Churchgate side, Marine Lines, there was a library called USIS Library.
Yes.
Me, my brother, sister, 4, 5 of us would land up there. They made us so welcome. We would pick up the books, sit around and read. We were allowed to take the books home. And that's how we came to know about how the West and the prairies were conquered by the first of the settlers. And I still remember when there were some books where they talked about the snow and how difficult life was for them. And if they got a single orange for Christmas, it was so special. These things remain in my mind, but I don't know what happened to the USIS library. I would just love to know what happened to it. This was early 60s. Okay, that's what I would like to share.
That's really lovely, Revati. That's such an interesting piece. And I love that orange tree story. That'll stay with me.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. I believe the library is still there. And of course, Aarti says that Nairobi's Macmillan Library is protected by law. It was built in 1931 and only white settlers were allowed in it till 1962, though now it's open to all. Shailesh says that he's referred to the IIT Bombay Library and the BNHS one. Jay says that the National Library in Calcutta is wonderful, and he also compliments you on your stories, Revati. Karina says that USIS was around when she was in college as well, and that's where they used to go before Google for all the university information.
That's the beauty.
Yeah. And Adil says that USIS is now in Bandra BKC at the US Consulate premises.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for sharing. I think this was so interesting, everyone chiming in and sharing a little bit of their own cities and memories. All right. We'll move on to the next. Now, this is a favorite subject for a lot of people, or if I may say so, all of us who are from Bombay. This is also the most loved wall in my exhibition, the IRANI Cafe wall. Let's just deep dive right into it. So IRANI cafes, as we all know, how important the Parsi community is to the cultural history of Bombay, and how these IRANI cafes, brought people from all different walks of life together under one roof, breaking bread, which is such an important phenomena for all of us, just for the human condition to thrive. I think it is so beautiful that IRANI cafes have this power, or at least had that power, to bring people together. Of course, this brings me to why I am documenting them, is because I wish to keep them alive. I wish to, encourage them with our patronage. And I think that is the only way to keep them around for longer. So I'd encourage everybody to go to your neighborhood IRANI cafe. It needn't be a fancy or a particular one, but anything which resonates with you over a Starbucks or a McDonald's. I would encourage you to go and support your local IRANI cafe. So I'm going to show you and talk about my favorite IRANI cafe in the city. Does anyone know this one? Just by answers. So this one is called Cafe de la Paix. It is a very unassuming Irani cafe right next to the Bombay Opera House. So it is definitely my absolute favorite, and I'm going to read out a story about it, which hopefully will tell you why and hopefully will take you there. Cafe de la Paix, this is in Girgaon, and it was established in 1936. It is the decade of the 30s in Bombay. Trams and horse carriages run in the busy streets of Girgaon. A stone's throw away from the Opera House, a corner cafe opens its doors, run by Mr. Gustad IRANI, a Parsi gentleman with a vision. The landlord of the building, enamored by the city of Paris, names his building a beautiful Bellevue or a beautiful scene. And he insists that the cafe is named after the historic cafe in Paris called Café de la Paix, incidentally neighbored by the Parisian opera Garnier. So this is the story as to why it's called Café de la Paix. Present day, third generation, Gustad Dinshaw IRANI, a collector of wood, takes pride in his cafe furniture. The bentwood chairs at the cafe have been restored to their former glory by scraping layers of black polish, discovering the words welcome etched on them, giving them their name of welcome chairs. Polished in a golden amber brown, the original wood color. On a winter evening, as I sipped on Gustad's delicious mint tea, an old gentleman walked in and exclaimed, "Ah, the best Irani chai in the world." A curious wall clock held my gaze, which read the letters Café de la Paix in place of the numbers. Vintage signage illustrates a menu from the 30s, checkered floor tiles, sepia photographs of Paris and the Mona Lisa, and a library of books in the corner. One enters feeling at home in Café de la Paix, staying true to its name, a house of peace. I'll take you back to the image. So we can all see that it has a curious picture of the Mona Lisa in the midst of an Irani cafe. So I find that very interesting. And so the third generation owner, also by the name of his grandfather, Gustad, who's now a really dear friend. I'm sure he will greet you with his famous Parsi mint chai. So I'd encourage everyone to go and give him your patronage and have the ban maska. Now this brings me to your favorite Irani cafes. Would anyone like to share?
Yeah, Jay's mentioned Britannia. And of course, Sanjeev is also inspired, and he says that he's new to Bombay and he's surely going to go to these.
Lovely. So if you see on the screen on the left, we have slightly again a hidden gem, which is the Regal Bakery and Cafe in Baikala. Very interesting. It used to be a provision and medicine store. You can see that on their signage. Really, really lovely place. Then we have Bimerwan, which of course everybody knows, best mawa cakes in Bombay. And of course, Yazdani Bakery, best bakery in Bombay, which is in Fort. And what I love about Yazdani is you can smell the bread being baked at least a street away. So very much like your Tom and Jerry cartoons where the smoke is inviting you in, that is what the freshly baked bread smell does whenever I pass by.
And in my book, they have the best brun muska.
Absolutely. Anyone would like to share about Irani cafes?
Akriti says that Kayani's has a lovely papaya ketchup. Any more folks? Any more stories from the Irani cafes? I think people are feeling hungry now.
Okay, we'll move on.
Adil says that there was a Sunshine Cafe near Café de la Paix, but it shut down just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no, yes.
And Jyoti says that there was one at Worli Naka, but I don't know. I don't think it's there now. I don't know if you're talking about City Bakery.
Yeah, I think. But yeah, I mean, I hope everyone is hungry listening to these stories. And if you need more incentive, the apple pies and fiery ginger biscuits at Yazdani are also a favorite. So please go. And of course, everybody knows about Britannia. That's the reason why I don't mention it a lot in my presentations, because everybody already knows. And of course, you must continue going to Britannia.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. So now we come to, of course, a subject which is easier for people to identify with, the landmarks of the city, which, of course, we all know. Everyone knows the Taj Hotel, everyone knows the VT. What I really love when I'm interacting with my audience is just listening to their stories about these places, because everyone has their own association with the Taj Hotel, in whatever capacity, and of course the VT station as well. So I feel they are as stereotypically Bombay as they are in their own ways symbols of Bombay. And these two, the one on the left, of course, all the Khaki veterans already recognize everything, but on the left we have the BMC headquarters, which is one of my absolute favorite buildings in the city, if I am allowed to pick favorites. When I entered the BMC about maybe this is 7 or 8 years ago, I was just awed by what I'm looking at, because at that point it wasn't open to public. I think you guys Khaki wasn't doing the tours then, right? Because it wasn't. I was just in awe. Like my heart was beating so fast because I couldn't believe what I'm looking at. It's I'm going to show you later on in the presentation their staircase as well, which is absolutely stunning. And then on the right we have the Grand Hotel, which of course a lot of us are familiar with as well in Balad Estate. Another really interesting style of architecture, and a lot of Instagrammers love it now. So that's a little bit about the landmarks. Now we come to my favorite part of the talk, which is hidden gems of Bombay. This is my forte. This is what I really thrive on exploring every single day, because I feel like I said in the beginning, Bombay is a city within cities, and every nook and corner you find your own hidden gem, you find your own slice of Bombay, which resonates with you and stays with you on a very personal level. So I'm going to talk about this one. Does anyone recognize it? Does everybody recognize it?
I think this is the Gwalior Maharaja's palace at Haji Ali earlier, and now it's the mosque, I think.
Yes, the Mahajiani Dargah.
Haji Ali, as many people have said, Suhas and Ramesh Naidu, Adil, Jyoti, and Akriti have all said Haji Ali.
Okay, so of course we all know the Haji Ali Dargah. So this is the lesser known shrine, which is across the bay from Haji Ali. This is a shrine of Mahajiani, and who was Haji Ali, his sister. So there's a bit of a story to this. So I'm just going to do a quick reading of that. Mahajiani Dargah, along the Arabian Sea, nestled atop a hilly outcrop, lies a lesser known shrine across the bay from its revered cousin, the Haji Ali Dargah. The Sufi shrine of Saint Mahajiani stands on a high plinth with a sapphire blue dome that overlooks the city and her sea. Dating back over a century, the shrine was built in honor of Mahajiani, a saint believed to be the sister of Pir Harjiani, entombed in the Haji Ali Dargah. As the legend goes, it is believed that the saints died at sea and their bodies were washed ashore a few meters from one another, where they were entombed in their respective shrines. Built in Porbandar stone in Indo-Saracenic style of architecture, at the land's end, the quaint sea fortress looks out at sea on all sides, which with a watchtower-esque edifice that holds a tomb, 2 verandas, and an open sky courtyard. The facade is an amalgamation of Mughal and colonial architecture with towering minarets and walls accented with pilasters, floral cornices, and a coat of arms. A glorious coming together of the Eastern and Western style of architectures. So this one, for those of you who don't know exactly where it is, so when you are coming from Haji Ali and going towards Worli, onto your left towards the sea, you will see Samudra Mahal, which a lot of us know. And next to that is the Blue Dome, which everyone can see when you're headed that way. And it's a really, really beautiful shrine. I'd encourage everyone to go there. And it is one of the very few shrines in the world which is enshrining a female Sufi saint. So beautiful feminine power and open to all, open till late in the night, beautifully lit. So yes, I'd encourage you guys to go. Now we're going to talk a little bit about a few of the others, which are my favorites in the city. So we have Mughal Masjid, which is an IRANI mosque in Bhendi Bazaar. It is as beautiful as it looks in this photograph. It has meenakari tiles from Iran, almost an oasis in a very bustling neighborhood of Bhendi Bazaar. So another one to check out. Then in the middle, we have the Esplanade House, which was the former palace of the Tatas. So a lot of important things have happened in the walls of the Esplanade House, right from the inception of the Taj Hotel, a lot of letters of correspondence between Swami Vivekananda and Jamshedji Tata addressed to Jamshedji Tata at Esplanade House. So again, this is very close to Sterling Cinema and beautifully restored by my favorite restoration architect, Vikas Dilaveri. On the right, being a Bandra girl, I couldn't not feature a Bandra building. So this is one of my favorite homes, which I would like to talk to you guys about. This is the Saudade's house. So in Portuguese, the word saudade translates to a beautiful sadness. So I'm not really sure why they've named it that, but it's very beautiful. It's very poetic, as you can see. And you will see there's this little soldier statue. I don't know if everyone can see that on their screens, but a little bit about that. So there's cultural symbolism in Goans that if the house belongs to a generation of like a family of teachers, lawyers, or doctors, you have a soldier statue saluting passers-by. So this is a little bit about a few of the hidden gems of my Bombay. I'd love to hear of some of your favorites, if anyone would like to share.
Someone's Yashpal has raised his hand. Yes, please go ahead, Yashpal.
Yeah, I was waiting for Anushka to talk about the studios.
Oh,
I am from Chembur, and we came from Karachi. My parents came from Karachi.
wow.
And in those days, there were the 3 studios. One, of course, is the most iconic, which is the RK studio, which got sold to the Godrej quite recently.
Right.
And a complex comes up. Of course, the Raj Kapoor Nargis iconic statue still remains there. And for me, it was a favorite because in those days, what used to happen is that quite a lot of them used to be picked up as extras. And we used to go to the Raj Kapoor studio, and where we were all kind of carted and taken to either the streets or a mountain. And I remember having escorted the likes of Honey Rani and Daisy Rani when they were kids. All right. And so I have personally met Raj Kapoor and sitting on the cot. They have those, the woven cots. What do they call in Punjabi?
Charpai.
Charpai, yeah, charpai. And We also had, there are two other studios in Chembur. The other one is Asha Studio, which also got closed down. And the third was Basant Studio, where all these Wadia brother movies were made.
Yeah.
All right, so historical movies. So none of them exist now. What remains only is RK's bungalow, right at the top of the hill, behind the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. These are memories that I have with me. Okay, but I thought I'll share it with you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta. That was great to know. And of course, they are so important. There's so much to talk about in Bombay. So it's really great that you brought this one up. And I think from the surviving studios, we have Mehboob Studio, Famous Studio, these ones, and of course, Film City and all of that. But yes, these are so important. So thank you.
Lovely. Adil says Mausoleum of Aga Khan is, which is known as the Blue Taj Mahal at Anjivadi.
Right. Yes, yes, that's a beautiful one.
And Parina says the
So-
Hasnabad Dargah.
Hello.
Who's speaking? Sanjeev, is that you speaking? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Building on to what the gentleman just said, I'm studying in Tata Institute of Social Science. So the bungalow of Raj Kapoor is like my home.
Wow.
We got a chance to go there. Actually, I left my mobile in my room, so I.
Okay, so just this brings me to the last part of my exhibition, staircases. So I really love staircases. Being an architecture geek, I really love watching. I really can spend a lot of time looking at a staircase for some reason, very curiously, looking at the details of architecture. And something as simple as a stairway can create such beautiful patterns when you look down from it. So I'm going to take you through my whimsical journey. So these are two of my favorite staircases in Bombay. The one on the left, any guesses with where this is?
Jyoti says that as you have a fascination for staircases, she has for gates.
Oh,
Ramesh,
lovely.
Ramesh Naidu says that it's the BMC building,
The one on the right, yes.
the one on the right.
But the one on the left is what I'm curious to know if anyone can guess.
Adil says that it's CSMT. No, Adil's favorites are CSMT headquarters, Taj Mahal Hotel, High Court, and BMC headquarters.
So I'm going to give you a hint. The answer is in that. One
In
of
that.
them.
Okay. So
Okay.
shall we go with the Taj Mahal then?
No, this is the High Court staircase. So this is the top down when you're looking down from they have two spiral staircases like this one. So
Right.
this is one of them, which is very curious and interesting to me. These are some of the other ones that I really love. The one that you see in the middle is the BMC headquarters that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. I know that Khaki does beautiful tours across BMC. So for those who haven't done it already, please go and be enamored and awed by the staircase. Like it really took me a lot of time to start walking because I was just so enamored by it. On the left, we have the Xaviers, and on the right also we have the Xaviers. So these are some of my favorites. Anyone would like to share?
I also like the floating staircase at the BMC building.
Absolutely.
That's the idea of a staircase without the support.
Yes.
Anyone
So
else?
usually, even your spiral staircases are floating ones, and that's what's so interesting about them.
Anyone with your favorite staircases in the city?
A lot of schools, a lot of colleges have really nice ones. So Cathedral has a really iconic one. The junior school, I believe, in Cathedral. And we spoke about the Esplanade House that has a very beautiful marbled staircase. I can go on, of course, but I'd be happy if anyone would like to chime in. And JF is still with us. London is full of them. spoil the choice. But one that I'd like to mention in London, so the National Courts of Justice, they have, the Royal Courts of Justice, sorry, they have really, really beautiful staircases.
Right. The university building has very nice exterior.
Yes, yes. Which used to lead up to the Rajabai Clock Tower.
And they visually make such a beautiful picture because of the golden ratio that you get.
Fibonacci sequence.
Fibonacci, exactly.
Yeah. So this is what I've tried to show in this image. If you guys look at that, you can see the S that this forms. So that completes the Fibonacci sequence. Great. So that brings me to the end of my talk.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much. I think the audience has enjoyed participating in, through the talk rather than at the end of it. And there are some lovely comments where, Jay says he will visit, and I think Jyoti is trying to remember some more places that she would. And of course, everyone at Khaki is now trying to figure out their favorite staircases and gates and so on. Thank you so much for that. Thank you very much. And Adil is already saying that the Grand Hotel staircase with windows on the outside is, what you can see at the corner. So thank you. You evoked some beautiful sort of memories for those who are not here, and a desire to go out and look for more beautiful places in the city for those who are. We really enjoyed that, and thank you. I hope that many, many people will come and see your exhibition. And Jay, visit us soon. Don't miss the city too much.
We're waiting for you in Bombay.
Yeah. So thank you, folks. You've been lovely. Thank you for sharing and participating. And thank you so much, Anushka, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Khaki, and thank you, Suki, and thank you guys for being such a wonderful audience. I wish you all have a great evening ahead, and I hope that we keep the spirit of exploring Bombay alive. And yeah, here's to Bombay, and here's to all of us.